All right, so here's the question. Are there alternatives to franchising that achieve the same result? That is licensing your business to others and getting ongoing income from others running your business. Yes is the short answer, because you said it, licensing. Basically, there's two ways to replicate. There's more than two ways to replicate, but the main two are obviously franchising and licensing. I'm a big fan of licensing over franchising because the franchising comes with the franchising code of conduct. The compliance is huge and it's a monster. Licensing doesn't have the same code and is usually cleaner. Having said that, you don't get the upside potentially of a franchise. And in fact, these days, most franchises have a franchise agreement and a licensing agreement tied into one. So we'd be talking about a licensing agreement. Typically, the way you get paid on a licensing agreement is you can get paid upfront as a one-off payment, so similar to franchising. Second, you pick up royalties usually. Okay, so you normally, in a licensing deal, you normally only make money when the licensee is successful. Let me try and put that in perspective. If you did a licensing deal over coffee, for example, then you would make your money as the licensee orders coffee from you, right? So you could have a flat fee license, you could do that, but most of it is through, when they're ordering from you, you make money. So if it costs you $5 to roast beans, you may sell them for $10 to one of your licensees, and that way you're picking up the difference between those two, right? That's typically the way it works. But having said that, you could have a license fee to use the trademarks that's flat fee, and then you pick up the royalty type income forever. The beauty of licensing is that you don't have to go through the due diligence phase with your product, the 14 days cooling off, the 7-day cooling. You don't have to go through much of that. You can kind of skip some of that, and it's faster. It's also going to mean you don't have to spend $35,000 on franchise documents. You probably have to spend $5,000 on a licensing document through a lawyer. So it's quicker to go to market. The downside, okay, so here's where you can get caught. If you go as a license when you are technically a franchise, you can get into a lot of trouble. So the franchising code of conduct is a massive book. It cures insomnia, but it boils down to one sentence. Did you show them the how-to system of how to do their job? If you did that, it's probably more on a franchise side. If you didn't do that and you just licensed trademarks and products and services, it's probably a license. And if you went as a license when you should have been a franchise, some people have been caught doing that, and the penalties are so big that they had to shut up shop. So you want to be a little bit careful on how to do it. But there is also a third option, so franchise and licensing, and there's a straight out distribution agreement. You can have an agreement with somebody where you say, you sell my product, and we'll do this split on whatever the income is. I mean, you can boil it straight down to that. The downside of a distribution agreement is that they haven't bought into your vision. They're just, well, maybe they have, but they haven't paid up front necessarily a big lump sum to be part of it. So there's less hurt money. They're probably less, bought into what you're trying to do. But again, it's really quick because it's going to cost you a few grand for a lawyer to make that up, and then you go straight out in the market and do it. So I guess they're different levels. Licensing agreements can still be, 5 to 7 years. Franchising can be more. Distribution agreements are usually a year-by-year review, and so forth. What I like about a distribution agreement is you typically would have an exclusivity. If you're giving somebody an exclusive area, in return you can expect minimums, and that's a nice way to go. It's like somebody says to you, I want the whole of Queensland. Well, if they want exclusivity in an area, then it's expected that they have minimums they have to meet. So that's not a bad way to go either. But that's my 2 cents. At every opportunity I advise to stay away from franchising, because the franchising business, when you enter franchising, you walk away from whatever product or service you are in right now. If you have a coffee shop and you want to go into franchising, you go into selling the dream and litigation. If you've got a shoe shop and you want to go into franchising, you go into selling and litigation. If you're in business coaching and you go into franchising, you go into selling and litigation. The business of franchising is not the product or service. You as the franchisor become a business that sells people into the business and litigates if they try and get out or they try and change the system, right? So it's a very different level of thinking. It's a very different business when you go into franchising. You are not in the business of the products and services that your franchisees sell. And that trips a lot of people up because they love their business and they love their products and customers, and they forget that when they go to franchising, that's not their business anymore. Their business is selling franchises, recruiting, royalty payments, and breaching people when they step outside your ideal world. So very, very, very different business model in that respect.